Tales of Our Times. Stronger than any flower. A wet and windy night, a woman waits anxiously for her overworked husband to return home, never suspecting the news he will bring.
Amy Tobin was in love. Things couldn't be better. Her boyfriend Owen was a dote. He bought her a gorgeous bracelet for her 21st with the wages he'd saved from working for her dad. She was dead keen on getting engaged this summer. She swung her leg over Owen's thigh as they sat together on the couch. She was mad to go into town to try on the ring she'd picked out in the Argos catalogue. Ciara got engaged last summer, and Aisling the summer before that. I'm just saying. Please, Owen, I'll drive if you're too tired.
OK, I'll ask your father for the night off and we'll head in.
Breda Tobin loved the sound of the phone. Each ring held a promise of news, of excitement. She ran eagerly towards the handset, skidded on the newly mopped kitchen floor and missed the call. Damn it! One of the few things Breda liked about living in a cottage surrounded by dairy farmers was the freedom to curse loudly and without consequence. She listened to the voice message. Her husband, John, would be late. Again. He was a good provider. She had to give him that. They had just built on a sunroom. Sunrooms were all the go. The neighbours' cows stared in from the boundary ditch. She opened the kitchen window. Shoo! The animals looked blankly back at the mad woman. Breda gave up and plopped down on the sofa with a packet of coconut creams. Always looking down their noses at us, thought Breda, as she devoured her fourth biscuit. She leafed through the catalogue her daughter Amy had left on the kitchen table. Page 201, Kane Furniture, allow 8 weeks for delivery. Yes, Kane was the ticket. If she ordered this week, the furniture would be delivered before Halloween. This thought went a small way towards consoling her that John would be too tired for lovemaking tonight. She rolled her finger in the crumbs, licking off the flakes of coconut one by one.
John Tobin lit another cigarette. It was hard to see with the rain and the pressure was on. The delivery business he started was at full tilt and there was no let up. The only thing that mattered was speed and the number of orders he could deliver in a day. He was tired and looking forward to getting home and relaxing with a can by the fire, but now Amy wanted Owen to take her to town, so John had agreed to do his run. Breda would be cross when he got home late. He didn't understand women. They always wanted you around, and at the same time they always wanted loads of things, like sunrooms. Things cost money. Sunrooms cost money. Money was made by not being around. Squinting through his rain-soaked windshield, he was thinking sunroom should be called something else. Thomas Fogarty had a fine place. He was the envy of many. He knew this. That's why he worked so hard that evening to release the water saturating his land. As the freed water ran away from the field, Thomas felt like a jaded schoolmaster opening the gates to let the children home. Good riddance, he thought. John Tobin rounded the bend by Fogarty's and noticed a digger in the top field on the left. What the hell is Fogarty building now? Hasn't he enough? It was only a moment, but when he turned to look back at the road, an oncoming car was veering into a pool of water. John acted fast, heaving the lorry to the left, hoisting part of it onto the ditch. His hands felt welded to the wheel as he held it in place at a dangerous tilt.
Breda was draping wet clothes over the rads in the kitchen. Some Dublin 4 writer was being asked if he believed in God. For flip's sake, she said, to no one in particular. Hello? Yes, this is Tobin's. Yes, this is Breda.
The sunroom was the only space big enough to fit the coffin and all the people who came to pay their respects. The windows perfectly framed the empty space where John's lorry should have been. He forced himself to focus instead on the satin surrounding his daughter's body, her alabaster hands clenched in contrived prayer. Days later, John found himself in the church in Kilmagany, leafing through petition slips. He searched the available options. Gainful employment, overcoming an evil habit, return of lost article. Nothing came close. The wide plank floor reminded him of straight roads in bad land. Good land meant twisty roads. He exited without praying.
For Breda, Amy's death was her grounding. She no longer craved excitement. Instead, she went every second day to the cemetery to pull the weeds from her daughter's grave, knowing that if they took root, they would grow stronger than any flower. But at night, she often lay awake. Her wish for John's touch had been granted. His lovemaking had the raw energy of procreation, even though it was long past being relevant. She understood and did her best not to think. He always said he was a good driver. So why?
John overheard the old-timers in the pub say they never saw a worse fall of rain the night it happened. He liked hearing that. But then, self-doubt would swagger in like the village drunk who tells it like it is and challenge him to prove this was true. That's when he'd order another pint. Weeks later, Thomas Fogarty walked his land like he was measuring his field for a carpet. He looked down at the road and noticed that truck still stuck in the ditch. Sure, the weather had been something fierce that night. He bent down and picked up a handful of newly mown hay. The drainage job had been worth the bother. The men from the local stud firm were viewing the crop tomorrow. He was hoping they'd pay him handsomely.
This programme was funded by the Broadcasting Authority of Ireland with the television licence fee. Music was composed by Stefan French. Series narration was by Orla Murphy. Stronger Than Any Flower starred Sheila Moylett as Amy, Noni Stapleton as Breda, and Raymond Keane as the narrator. Production assistance was provided by Olil Martin, Gerald Murphy, and Yvonne Usher. Sound recording was by Thomas Maher. Sound editing was by Danny Green. Stronger Than Any Flower was produced and adapted for radio by Orla Murphy from an original story of the same name by Eileen Condon.